I'm so happy that we are opening the festival Prague Crossroads here tonight, and that we are opening it with the Resistance Now tour. That is an initiative from Milo Rau, who is a speaker now. And we have the discussion, and you see our main discussion people here are already in such a depth connection. I just want to take the opportunity before we start to thank the wonderful team of New Stage and National Theatre Drama who made this whole event possible. Because, you know, it's the tip of the iceberg this evening and the whole festival, but it's a huge amount of work that is behind it, so thank you to everyone. The Prague Crossroads Festival is a gathering that wants to enable discussion, that wants to enable gathering, sharing opinions, disagreement. It's an open space. It's also shown in our programming. The festival was founded to the commemoration of Václav Havel, our first president of the independent Czech Republic and also Czechoslovakia after Velvet Revolution. So all his values are grounded somehow in this festival and also in this debate. And we were so happy that Milo Rau contacted us to have a stop of the Resistance Now tour in Prague. It has been a great honor, and it also shows how we need to connect, how these times are difficult. We also had a difficult morning, I think, for most of us today with the elections in the United States. And these type of meetings and these festivals are showing that we are strength, that we can face the future with hope. And yeah, this is, I think, very great. I would like to introduce you our speakers tonight. Milo Rau, Artistic Director of Wiener Festwochen and initiator of the Resistance Now tour, and also director that directed the show that we are bringing to the festival. This is also the direct connection to the Prague Crossroads Made as Children, that you will have the opportunity to see this weekend, the 9th and the 10th of November. Dóra Büki, who is a producer from Proton Theatre, who is a major leading artistic theatre troupe in Hungary, independent theatre troupe that has a world impact with these great artists like Kornél Mondruczó, Kata Weber, and so on. And we are so happy that Dóra Büki is here tonight to speak to us what is happening in Hungary, what they are facing, and also how the international network is important for them as Proton Theatre. And last but not least, we have Jiří Havelka, theatre and movie director from here, Czech Republic, who is here to bring us also the local context, because we are interconnected. We have somehow this Central European focus tonight for the Resistance Now tour, because we try to make it also a little bit specific to each context where it's happening every time. And Jiří Havelka is also here because he worked many times in the Slovak National Theatre Drama, so he's very connected to Slovakia. And he will be also to make also a little bit of bridge with Miriam Kičiňová, who will greet us with a video in the middle of the discussion to also share with us what is happening in Bratislava right now, what they are facing, and yeah, to share this with us. So, Milo, I would like to start with you. Please, could you tell us what is the Resistance Tour now about? How did you came up with the idea? And yeah, what is all behind this project?
Yeah, I mean, actually, yesterday we were sitting in a. I mean, you were already with us. We had yesterday a discussion in Vienna together with Matej Dievlička, which is the dismissed director, of course, the general director of the Slovak National Theatre, as you all know. And it started. There's a little sound. I think it's better. And it started all when I was in Vienna, when I heard in the middle of August that he was dismissed. And I was kind of, it's like, even an hour by car from Vienna, but nobody reported on it, nobody was interested in it like it would have happened in, I don't know, in Iran. And I was like shocked a little bit in a way that I said, but we should react on that. So I called him. And then he said, you know what you can do, please write a letter to the Prime Minister Fico. And I did it, and this letter with some other colleagues, and this letter was signed by 2,500 people from all over Europe.
I think many people in this room also signed the petition.
And people from inside this room signed it too. And that was the beginning, because then people were calling us and saying, but why don't we do this discussion in Sweden? Why don't we do it in, and then we went to New York and to Taiwan and to Serbia and to many different places. And I understood that on the one hand, we were not connected at all. I think we had before a quite interesting discussion to say that we have the impression that we live in the utopia of Silicon Valley and we know everything, but in the end we don't know anything at all. When I was in Serbia, for example, in Belgrade, I heard that the lithium mine is opened for Volkswagen because they need lithium for electric cars, and they will push 20,000 families from their lands, and it's financed by the European Union. And it's a big scandal, but I never heard about it. It was never in the media, so we are not connected at all, and I just understood we have to connect, and we have also to understand the context in which we are having our little solitary resistance. And on the other side, I understood these are very different fights with different names I never heard, and on the other side, it's kind of very similar. So we have the rise of neo-nationalism, we have the coming back of the idea of a traditional culture, and that everything which steps a little bit outside would be bullshit and radical leftist, elitist things that cannot be subsidized anymore. And as we discussed yesterday in your case, it's very often going through the way of just cutting money, not discussing it politically, and just letting it disappear. And there, and we are now in month number 3, or month 8, it started in August, now it's November. End of November we want to, for a first step, end in Strasbourg in the European Parliament, to ask the European Parliament and the European Commission to look closely inside the cultural politics of the different member states and of the states applying to become member states of the European Union, because in a very strange way the European project is falling apart. They are having a common economy, but they don't look into the cultural freedom, for example, of the different member states. So it's what is happening in Hungary, and Europe is not reacting, is completely absurd, and so on.
This brought me to this question, because everyone were following your work in Ghent when you were in Belgium, and somehow, I was really struck by what you're doing artistically, so inspiring, but it felt somehow far from us. So I could never imagine sitting us together like we are today and discussing topics that are so close to us. And I have this feeling, because you moved to Vienna last year and you are now artistic director of Wiener Festwochen, that this somehow move to this region maybe brought you a different context, or this Central European approach is now more present in you, or how do you perceive this?
It's true. I mean, I'm born in the east part of Switzerland, almost Austria, you could say, Middle Europe, but my last 20 years happened in France and Belgium and perhaps the US, so you could say in the Atlantic geopolitical space. And then I came to Vienna, and I remember how extreme for me this change was that I had, and for a certain time I was still working in Belgium and in Middle Europe, and you could say every week I was crossing the line between Middle Europe and Atlantic or Western Europe in a way, and that was the moment when for example, the conflict in Palestine and Israel started. And I remember that in my theater we had a flag, a Palestinian flag, because whole Belgium, whole France would support, I don't know, the Palestinian cause, the things that were happening there. Then I was coming to Vienna, and everywhere, and I heard that even here there is a flag of Israel at the National Theatre, and if you would do this in Belgium, I don't know, you would be cancelled and your theatre would be burned down. And the same in Vienna, if I would put a Palestinian flag on my offices, it would be over. We are called anti-Semites because we invited Annie Arnaud, the Nobel Prize winner, and she signed a letter against the policy of Israel like years ago. And then I was asking myself, but what is the reason for this? And I saw that Europe is you could say, divided by two different perpetrated traumas. So on the western part of Europe, we have, of course, the colonization. So, of course, you have Congo, you have North Africa, and you read the conflict in the Middle East as a you could say, colonizing conflict, and Palestine is colonized. And then you come to here, perhaps even more in Vienna, and of course in Germany, and it's read as kind of the never again of the Holocaust. And you will stand with Israel whatever happens, and even if they massacre a whole people, and we all know what is happening in Gaza now, so, and that it is difficult to hang this flag, because it's also the flag of a state. It's not it's not the flag of Israel, you know? So, but you read it in a different way. It makes historical sense, but it makes perhaps not sense in the way of, for example, for what is happening there in a political sense. So I would propose that, I mean, there are two possibilities with this flag here, and I would propose the same thing, by the way, in Belgium, that we bring this flag down. That's one possibility, because I think it's, and the second possibility is that we bring up the Brazilian flag. I mean, but we have to somehow and just I didn't even see that. But anyways, I think that for me, that was really a recontextualization of something I didn't really think about. And I think inside Europe we have to overcome this, because what is happening at that very moment, we are standing on the sideline of world politics, fighting one against the other. We don't help to the Palestinian people, and we don't help to whatever the Israeli project might be. We don't help to the, by the way, the opposition in Israel. I have many friends who are protesting against this military regime. So I think we are just not acting in a rational way. And I come back to the first question, and then I shut up forever.
Just for a little bit.
That's what this kind of exchange brings to me. And how I can understand another perspective and understand why there is this flag and there is that flag, and how we act like this, and how we can learn by connecting our different point of views.
I think this is the crucial point, that we are gathering, that theatre can be a forum, that it should be a forum because it's a public space, and that we enable this discussion, that we listen to each other, and we do that with our humanistic European values. I think this is key. I would like to go to Dóra Büki to talk about a little bit the situation in Hungary, and do it through your personal story, the story of Proton Theatre, which is for me so unbelievable, how a theatre troupe that has such a major impact in the theatre world of today, how can they face such a weird situation of being cut out of money? So could you please share with us the current situation of Proton Theatre, and how do you see the future right now?
I actually don't see any future for us. We have money for 2 more weeks, and then I don't know what will happen. That's the most extreme situation we have been. We really just ran out of money at the end of autumn, and I don't know how to continue. Yeah, we have been existed for 15 years. We usually do our productions as international productions, because we would otherwise never have the chance to do a new project financed from Hungary only. This is what the international festival and theatre world is giving us, the new productions. I think there should be a change of thinking to preserve culture, like, for example, cancel premiere culture, just value performances which are 15 years old. And I don't like when performances are not invited because of being old. You can present, I believe, also an old performance. It has always each year a new meaning, and it's also interesting to see the actors getting older in the same performance. And I believe if a performance is already 15 years old, then it has special values, and when we don't need to produce so much new stuff.
It has also something to do with sustainability, no, somehow?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You can reuse your set, as for example. I don't find it problematic. you shouldn't reuse others' sets, probably. Yeah. And the other thing is that I think in Europe we do Hungarian theaters with Hungarian theater with Hungarian people, Hungarian technicians on Hungarian language, which is considered national level, but we show our performances on European level because of touring abroad on festivals and theaters, and I think it should be possible in the EU to support European level culture, not only in the theater but in any kind of culture.
You are speaking about taking again, pieces that are 15 years old and so on, but still, after 8 years, this year in 2024, you produced a new piece with Cornel Mundruczó, Parallax, but you were not able to do it in Hungary, and you do it in the frame with Wiener Festwochen, and this is the link between the two of you. What does it mean for you to have the premiere in Wien and have Wiener Festwochen as co-producer?
Wien is part of the monarchy, so it's actually like being at home. It was nice. It was, but still in the monarchy.
We are still in the same Austro-Hungarian.
Seriously, it was an honor to premiere at the Wiener Festwochen, and a lot of Hungarian people came also to watch our show. I didn't miss. I mean, we were the whole team. We produced it, the performance year long. It was financed 3.5 years long. It doesn't matter that it doesn't premiere in Hungary. We premiered, we then continue touring with it, so we are not less, or the production is not less because of not having a premiere in Hungary.
But still, there is this aspect that you have a Hungarian play with Hungarian artists, but not able to perform it in Hungary.
Because we don't have money, we are not supported by the state, and we don't have money for presenting our shows anymore in Hungary. I'm not bothered by it because I can't take more. During these 15 years of our existence, our subsidies got less and less and less until it got zero. And also, my colleagues got less and less and less, and that doesn't mean I work less and less and less. It does mean I work more and more and more. And then I reach a point where I'm 0.25 open, I don't know what. And I reach my limits, so I don't bother with not playing in Hungary. I want to survive, I want our company to survive. That's what matters, much more.
Thank you. I would maybe now go with the greeting from Miriam Kicsinyova from Bratislava to have also her point of view and give us the context of Slovakia.
Hello dear friends and colleagues, a lot of greetings from this our new building, Slovak National Theatre, especially drama department. I am Miriam Kicsinyova and I'm really sorry that I cannot be in Prague now. So I would like to say a lot of greetings to our friends from Prague and Czech Republics and all Czech theatres, because we feel a lot of support, and especially with National Theatre we have so good relationship that it's really like to be at home when we are there. A lot of greetings to Dóra Büki, because I think that now we should a little bit also apologize to all our Hungarian theatre colleagues that in their situation we were not loudly enough to protect the culture, to protect them and their work. So maybe now we just start to understand what does it mean to be and to live in such a political pressure, which try to look like that nothing is happening, everything is all right. This is, I think, the statement here in Slovakia. And also the greetings to Milo Rau, and it's great that you are doing this work now, that you want to give and put all these theatres and artists together and to create and find a way how to do resistance now. And my last greeting is to you, Jiří Havelka. Thank you for our last call and all our work together here in National Theatre. So I hope that you can describe the topics which we used to do here and what is the situation now also here. And shortly to this, what we are living now. We are 1 year after the election, and we try to understand where we are going. And in one interview, I told when we lost our general manager, who were kicked off from the theater because of new government, Matěj Drlička, that somebody who will come should be from 19th century. And now we are thinking if we are going back to the 19th century, so it really means that close to the nationalism. Or usually we can say also in Slovakia that now we are going back to the 70s and normalization. And now there are also people here who think that our way is back to the 50s. So very rude, very rough and very hard type of communism with physical torture. So I hope that we are not going totally there. But what leads, for example, me to these thoughts that this is the way of comeback, but very weird comeback. Yes, this is a strong change in the leadership of institution, cultural institution. It was, yes, Slovak National Gallery, Slovak National Theatre, Slovak National Museum, others museums, and others institution. There is kind of the fairness between the leaders of rest institutions, for example, these small ones who need to take care about national heritage. There is strong and hard attack on the institution who try to keep our memory. So I start to think that this is the way to make destruction of our memories, of our history, a little bit rewrite it. Yes, few days ago we had a very specific situation that very famous Czech politic who is actually Slovak. He was the member and worker the secret services during communism, and now Slovak Republic and the minister of Slovak Republic told that actually it was not like this. So one important part of history is now disappeared. So maybe we need to face also the situation that people would like to clean history, to change a little bit history as it suitable for them. So this is something very dangerous. To the power or to the leadership of institution, for example, are coming people who used to be older. Nothing wrong with older, but for example, in the period of normalization, usually they ask communists from 50s to come to the position in the 70s. So this is also kind of the sign that regime would like to make rehabilitation of itself, and create the space for the former communist people. So maybe we are also facing something like this. Who are these cadres? Who are these leaders who can lead this country and republic? What we are seeing and what we are afraid also that what will be with our cultural heritage? I mean, mostly with the drawing and painting art. What is the fearness of our friends from galleries and museums that there will be one central depositar, and nobody knows how it will be organized. What will be with all these artistic works there, with all that pictures, for example? They will be still the part of our national heritage, or will somebody sell them? Maybe now I look like a conspirator, but this is something what we need to think about, that it is something really very hard. And there is also a wish to totally rewrite our cultural infrastructure. So it's not developing of something what exists and improve it to the better condition. No, it's a way how to totally transform it. And the last thing what totally leads me that we are in a normalization, but it's also about 90s, not just 70s, that now we lost totally expertise. Doesn't matter who is expert on something, it's important of who you are friend or family. So everywhere we call it in Slovakia náš človek, our men, our people. So now everywhere we can slowly see that people who used to be a little bit hidden, without like important respect, now are also coming to the position. Now they are experts, and usually we just can say they are just the friends of the main politicians. So these are like a lot of steps which on the end can be destruction of something what is existing. And the way is what we can do with that. Yes, everybody is waiting that we are in a cultural strike, so we should do something now and immediately and in total radical power. But I'm afraid if this is possible, because democracy is so fragile that, for example, in Slovakia we have in constitution the law that yes, you can go and strike when you are losing your constitutional rights. But on the other side, this law who should protect the people in this type of strike was never accepted, so we don't have it. So actually we can go and strike because of our constitutional rights, but in that moment it's also very fragile. And so next steps can be the power of unions. So I'm still thinking, yes, we should be part of something bigger, and this is maybe really fight of unions for better condition, also workers in the culture field. And my other feeling when we are talking with actors and with our technicians, everything we can say or what we can do, actually, yes, we have still stage, still we have it. We can still speak from the stage. But for example, in our theater, we are still fighting if it is possible to read short statement about the situation and that we are member of cultural strike. It means we are just saying that we are in strike emergency because we don't think that the things which are happening here are okay. And it's still discussion if it is possible or it should be forbidden, that we are doing something like against our working laws or not. So it's for me total funny discussion that in the 21st century, after 35 years of democracy, we are still speaking if it is possible to use the stage for this type of statement, which I understand like civic statement, because now everything what is like very critical to the main politicians is actually political activism. So we are dealing with the understanding of words. We are dealing with this what is really right and what is unright. We are dealing with this when this big frustration from this powerless will come. And when we are speaking with actors and technicians about this our situation and these feelings, because yes, sometimes it's kind of the frustration. You see it, and actually you can do nothing bigger, maybe. We are still searching what type of activities or actions we can do. That maybe it's also time to be like in occupied city, to really build the barricades from inside and speaking from the stage these things which are important for our audience, for our people, for all people in regions. And there is something where we need to go, to speak with people from the regions and from the other districts outside of Bratislava, to still explain why their lives will be not better when immigrants will be not here, when LGBT community will be not here. Their life will be better when they start to really live democracy with all responsibility. So I hope that I tell you something from this our situation and good discussion and a lot of power to keep this fight for democracy.
I feel like I should say thank you, Miriam, even though she's not hearing us right now. I know the video was a bit long, but we thought Miriam needs the space also to describe the situation, and she was really sorry that she can't be here tonight, but at the same time they are rehearsing. They are rehearsing in the theater, and you can imagine as a manager having to fight these fights for democracy and at the same time continuing the artistic work. They are really in this very difficult position, and we really wanted to support her in that, so we're happy to have this message from Slovakia. Jirka, I would turn to you, because you worked many times with Miriam. You are quite linked also artistically. You created the show Elite together, that is dealing with the topic of important politically influential people before the Velvet Revolution, being able, thanks to their connection and their power, go quickly in position and somehow block the positions also after the I want to say Berlin Wall, but for the Velvet Revolution. What do you feel when you listen to that? And Miriam also was addressing you directly, that you were talking together. What are you talking about? What does solidarity to you mean right now at this point?
I don't hear you properly because the speakers are really towards audience and not us, which is funny because I have only understand you, Milo, when you were talking towards me and I could read your lips. And when you turn your head towards Nina. But I think I did understand the question. And well, I'm in close contact with Miriam actually since the last elections, and we are always talking about what should we do, what can be helpful for them. And the question is actually still there. I'm not sure what really can we do. And like everyone knows, everyone sitting here probably knows the situation in Slovakia, in Hungary. I think the pattern is always quite similar. Like there is a populist nationalist party that, and we have to admit this, that wins elections. They get into power. Interesting thing for me is that usually they get in power again, like Trump today or this morning, like Fico. And we will see what will happen in next elections in Poland, you know, or in Hungary. It's actually in one line. But the people are coming back to power with a bigger hatred and bigger actually desire for revenge. And then the steps that they need to do after winning the elections are clear, and we saw it in Hungary, we saw it in Poland, and now we see it in Slovakia in very actually faster, quicker way. I think you have to take over the public media, you have to eliminate the independent media, you have to change the how is it, the court system, the judicial system,
justice.
Justice. Yeah, you have to put your people, as Miriam was talking about, this is my man, mój člověk, that you have to put your people to in the charge of that, and of course you have to reduce or at least have influence on the vivid culture, on theater, music, that is reflecting and dealing with the social vibrations at the moment. But at the same time, what also Miriam said about the culture history or culture heritage is that you have to take over also the institutions that are preserving national culture heritage. And we can see it online, we see that, and the question is what can we do with that?
Milo, you had an interesting point about this, why theater is this forum that needs to be attacked so quickly. Could you develop on that? Why is the theater such an influential space in this debate?
Yeah, I think there are two questions mixed. Why is it such a symbolical space? Because for me it was always, I would like to come later back on this kind of the second attempt. Because this is the dangerous attempt, and especially with Trump, because it's today. He knows what he wants to do. He is revengeful and he wants to take it all now. He wants to destroy the institutions and he wants to overthrow the republic. So,
sorry, if you win it again, then you don't want to let anyone take it from you again.
Yeah, because the first time it was difficult to take it away, but second time he has his experience. They know what they want to do. They know the steps.
I know which mistakes I did. That actually I could be taken, you know, the power from me. So I don't want to do the same mistakes as I did.
Yeah,
so I think it's much more dangerous, actually.
And in my humble opinion, it doesn't even have to be the same personalities. I said, okay, in Austria we have now a fascist, really a fascist, a radical right-wing president of the parliament. He's singing Nazi songs. This guy is a dangerous guy. And I mean, we know what happened last time in Austria. And it was like, okay, we defeated Hitler, and now you can come back, and this time, you know, you will make it better. It will not happen, it will be worse. So why is theater such a symbolical space, and why is theater at the same time so weak? And I think the question to the weakness of theater is quite interesting, that's why it's attacked. It's difficult to attack, for example, the art sector because it's private sponsored. You can say to a sponsor, this painting, you can't look at it anymore, you know? And theater, especially in Europe and in Middle Europe, is publicly funded. So you can just say, you don't get money anymore, and it's over, and we don't even have to discuss it, you know? And that's how it works. And I think the second thing, that's for me, I don't have an answer at that very moment, but I was always shocked that you had a discussion in media, you had a discussion in television, you had a series in Netflix, it was in the parliament 20 days, and then you put it on stage, and it was a big national scandal, it was forbidden, there was a huge problem with it, and it's a bit like if this space would still be a space of where we represent ourselves and who we want to be and what we can allow to be shown in public light, you know? Because the television it's a private space, theatre is never a private space, you know? And I think that's why we have to defend this place perhaps even more than other places, because we can't go anywhere. I mean, these machines, the theatre is so expensive. I mean, when they are now rehearsing, they will rehearse with 100 people or 200 people in the backstage and everywhere for perhaps 500 people in the public. So that's impossible to do without public money. So it's a public property, and that's why we have to defend it, and that's why it's so weak.
I felt you wanted to react, Jirka, but
I only got the half when Milo was facing me. So. I think you need to turn one speaker towards us.
I mean, I just thought for your fun and that you know that I have the same trauma like you. Here we see a picture from the opening of the festival, and that happens on a big stage in front of 50,000 people, and it's super loud, and you can hear it in the whole city, but not on the stage. I really just saw people like the lips, they were moving, and I was like reacting on it, but I had no idea what they were saying.
I have heard what you said.
Yeah, it's also about care, you know, caring that the other hears us. Jiří, I wanted to ask you, because you worked on Elite a few years ago, but somehow Miriam is evoking these topics that are happening right now. Were you aware at that point what actually could happen, or was it more about this past approach?
It's an interesting question. Well, the main slogan or motto for the show called The Elites was the past is upon us, the past is before us, or I mean the past is the future actually. And I'm not sure if I was aware of the fact in that time, because the truth is that I only did there two big shows or two shows on the main stage of National Theatre in Bratislava. But they were both somehow dealing with the Velvet Revolution in 1989, both of them from two different perspectives. But yeah, the first one was based on evidences of secret services, that we have chosen like few people that were in the public positions or as heads of big corporations, or I mean like people with influence on the society in the time. And we took the evidences that were very clear that there was a moment and very concrete situation when they signed the paper of collaboration with secret services of the Czechoslovakia state in the time. And it was undoubtable situation, because there was a long report always about that. We knew, we can read it now, how the situation was actually developing, who was immediately with that okay, who was making some excuses and so on. And of course, that was the offer actually for this topic from National Theatre and from dramaturgy. My way to that was because in that time Andrej Babiš was Minister of Finance. It's really like 2016, it's quite a long time ago. And
Minister of Finance is in the Czech Republic.
In the Czech Republic, not premier yet.
Because we will be also followed internationally with this recording, so just to have context.
And of course, this comes to me quite often now, because he will be probably our next Prime Minister. I'm not sure if we can avoid that. It's interesting. Also now the fight that he's struggling with being totally innocent in this fact, because the evidence is totally clear, there is no doubt about that, but he's really fighting for this, and he did it, because now Fico's government is there, and it's quite easy to get the paper that this was unrightful, that is not truth actually. So I'm not sure if I was aware of that in the time, but definitely I'm now coming to that very often.
Dóra, I understood somehow your perspective, trying to turn it into positive discourse, like we don't mind if we are not subsidized in Hungary because we have partners outside somehow, but still...
No, it's not I don't mind, but not having subsidies in Hungary. I don't say that. I don't mind currently not playing in Hungary because I mean I have other problems. This is not a problem currently. We have bigger problems like how to come through the winter. That's our problem because we have some basic cost like storage cost. We have to pay that and we don't have money for that. What I mentioned you previously was that last year, I mean this year we didn't get any subsidies. Last year we received 19,000 euro for the whole year, and 12,000 euro are the storage cost of us. So there is remaining 7,000 euro for what you have to do: one premiere, 15 performances, and have at least 2,000 spectators from 7,000 euro. And I call that year the Olympic of Survival. And then you have the feeling you are unimportant. I mean, I have the feeling I'm unimportant. And then after that, I was contacted by the Hungarian Olympic Committee that I cannot use the word Olympics. Yeah, that's everyday word.
So they are actually making you feel that you are not important, that they follow every step you are doing. We were exchanging also, Milo, on this, and I would like all of you maybe to respond on that. We have this European level, we have this European Union, and what is, for example, shocking for me, we had this, going on in Hungary for many years now. You told me that Proton Theatre was founded at the same time that Viktor Orbán actually came into power, 2009. So the path of Proton is directly linked to Viktor Orbán somehow. How is it possible that we, as the European Union, we have common legislation? How can we not avoid these type of things? And now in Slovakia, somehow the European Union on this level seems so weak. What do you think we need now, and what should we, also because you will go to the European Parliament at the end of this tour, what should we ask for? What we need now as the cultural and theatre sector?
I think
also as society, maybe. I don't want to be just so theoretical focused, but you know what I mean.
I think the European Union did almost everything in the last 20, 30 years that everybody would stop to believe in this project. I think that's the main problem, is that the European Union is not democratic, and I think most of the people don't appeal to them because they don't know to whom they would appeal. I think I remember that you told me that when your subsidies were cut, you were asking yourself, but to whom can I go in Europe? And then you went to something, I don't know, this institution, the Academy of the Academies or something like that. And it's guided by an old woman of 92 years, is the president, and she didn't do nothing. So this is the reality of Europe. And at the same time, on my little resistance tour, we land in Belgrade, and we hear that the European Union is financing the push out of 20,000 families in Serbia for the German car industry, And I'm not against the German car industry, but you should not use the European dream to do that. So I think I can understand why neo-nationalism is growing. I can understand that you think, okay, alone I'm better out of the whole story. When I was in Italy, Italy is completely alone in the migration politics. So this is kind of completely outsourced by the European politics. And what they also outsource, of course, because they are super afraid of culture wars, is the cultural politics. And that's exactly why we say this is the heart of the project, has to be the culture, has to be the freedom of the speech and the freedom of the art, and that it is the idea of publicly subsidized avant-garde art that becomes the heritage of the future, by the way, that this has to be in the center of Europe, and that they have to take care of it. And now I come perhaps to what culture became after 20 years of populist speech. It became a kind of a vogue hobby of a leftist elite. I think for most of the people think that this is a kind of a crazy hobby that some gay people are doing when they have some spare time on Sunday, you know? And this is really the cliché that was impregnated in the heads of people. And I remember a good friend of mine, it's just a very nice metaphor that I sometimes try to tell. A friend of mine is the Flemish Minister of Culture, because I was working in France for a long time, and they were always sitting on a big round table, and on that side the first minister was the Minister of Economy, and then the Minister of Security, the Minister of Police, the Minister of Education, and so on and so on and so on, and in the end, I think there were 12 ministers, was the Minister of Culture. That was, of course, my friend. And he said every Monday morning they met and they went around the table, but in the 4 years he was minister, they never arrived at him.
And there is also a contradiction somehow, I feel, because also without the European concept, about the European dream, as you named it, we wouldn't be here tonight. So there is still something, you know, that we need to fight for also on this European level and on this political level. I would like, Dóra, to ask you, is there something that you would somehow like need from Europe? Or is there something like a vision you have, or yes, also we're coming back to this solidarity concept. Yeah, I do. He said it all.
I didn't. What do you think you would need now from
Europe? I mean, it's very easy. We need money, or as a support, or we need guest performances. Now nothing else helps, but very direct help.
Can I do one last metaphor? Because for me it's difficult to hear you, but I'm very close to you, but I think when you're sitting there you hear all of us and you see a group. And for me it's a bit Europe like this, you know? So we are existing as a beautiful project seen from far, but for example when Mate was dismissed in like 40 minutes by car from Vienna, nobody cared, I didn't hear it, I didn't know about it. And it's really, I mean, it's for me, it's an absurdist play. It's nice that we are here in Václav Havel's city, because it's like sometimes I think, so what, how can this be? We have all these channels of communication, but we have absolutely no idea. When somebody would say, describe me Europe, I would start to think, what exactly is it? So, I mean, it's a problem of that we really go and meet and talk, and we just don't do it. I mean, for me, when I was in Ghent, for example, for me, it was more simple to go to London or to New York than to go to Prague. And as you know, it's my first time I'm in Prague. So it's not, I mean, this is happening, but it was not obvious to me. It was really when you are by accident in the west of Europe, you would really stand with the back to the east and you would watch to the US, you know?
Jiří, you will now take the lead of the Davidské divadlo, and you will become artistic director for the first time of an institution, even though it's a small institution. And you know, we are speaking about this institutional aspect of theatre. What does it mean to you to be part of an institution? How do you perceive this?
Well, a year ago I wouldn't be able to imagine that actually I would accept the role of artistic director in any theatre, because it seemed to me to be more like, you know, paperwork than artistic work. But I think the first main reason is the period of the time that we are living in, and the topics that we are talking about, what's happening in Europe, that actually now have the voice not just by yourself, but for the institution, gives you some power that you are actually obliged to use. And of course, if it is this type of theatre that is quite and yeah, well, let's say it famous, and use the fame of the actors to deliver some different message to broader audience than I can do anywhere else was a strong argument in my hesitating. But I'm still in my notions in that European topic, and I'm thinking it's really incredible that you can see, you know, the European leaders at one moment sitting around one round table in Brussels, and then you see 2 or 3 of them against TV or like being in a smaller meeting like Orban, Austrian Prime Minister, and Fico together. That it's crazy, totally. Like there is a, you know, if I say it in a very banal way, there is a group of friends, and 3 of them are doing something totally different. But I think, or I'm actually very deeply convinced that it's our only hope, actually, to, you know, to bring up again the story of Europe. What is it? And now talking about Václav Havel, actually, at these crossroads that are dedicated to him in a way. We should remind his article called Europe as a Task. I don't know if it's a good translation. Evropa jako úkol, Europe as a duty, as a task. And he's writing there about what Milo was mentioning, that Europe Union is for a lot of people, is in a lot of people's heads, but it's not in their hearts. That to build up the European identity will take some time, you know, and it's really for a long, long time, I think, and it will take a lot of time, but it's worth it, and I think it's slowly happening, because like 10 years ago, no one knows the name of the head of the European, what is it, board? European board, so yeah, who knew like 10 years ago who was the, you know, the few people that were in charge of actually European Union. Now everyone knows at least that there is some woman called Ursula, I think, and that it's slowly moving towards good intention, and more or less the like it's quite empty slogan now, but the unity in diversity, or you know, the term solidarity is very strongly connected to that. It's just words, but I think that it's our chance and hope actually to give them again the proper meaning, because if there is an advantage of European Union, it is solidarity, because the north of the Europe is totally different than the south, the west is totally different than the east, and there is no other geographical space on this planet that is so interconnected and can take the advantage and disadvantages from different places. So I think there is no other actually soil or no other union that can fight the crises that are ahead of us in a very effective way. But how to like, is this just the phase that we have to go through, or is it a bigger danger? I don't know.
I was reflecting a little bit, because we were talking about the second coming of drama, the second coming of nationalism, etc. And of course, this kind of coming back of a kind of invincible zombie coming out of the grave again is super spooky, what we're living now. But I think the bashing of the national idea is also wrong, because when we look to the 19th century, I was thinking it was exactly what the European project is now. Why would you kind of support, when you live in France, the south of France, you don't even understand them? Why would you support somebody who is old, that he can have a nice retirement? Why would you help children you don't know to go to school? Why would you do this, you know? And the national idea to overcome regionalism and to be solidary with people you don't know at all was a super beautiful idea. And that's why this canon is not shit, and that's why the national idea is an idea that is kind of, let's say, post-identitarian somehow, and then became an identitarian, a very toxic idea now. That was at that time in the 19th century a much bigger step than now. I think the 19th century, north of France was much further away, only technically by transport, than the north of Europe is now to the south of Europe. So we have also to see that this task is not kind of crazy and we will not make it, because we already made it. We already made it in a much bigger scale, and we are somehow locked somewhere. And perhaps we should, some sociologist or philosopher, I would be happy if you would explain why we are so locked.
I would maybe now turn to the audience to give you the space to ask questions. So please, are there any questions in the room? Maybe I should go.
Yes, hello, good evening. Thank you for a wonderful talk. Can you hear me? Because it's no? Why not? Because
Now I can hear.
oh, you don't have. Okay.
Now it's better.
That's strange. Yeah. I would like to ask, do you think, would you agree, that because we are neglecting human rights somewhere around the world, as you say, everything is connected, should be solidarity, and in fact, as Europeans, we are neglecting, we are overlooking, ignoring the human rights of the subjugated people in the third world, in the global south, then it's coming back to us, because we have, through our neglect, through our ignorance, we have let the dictators grown up because they thought we didn't see what they were doing abroad, you know, in the subjugated countries. So maybe that is the rise of populism that was caused by, I got it mixed up a little bit. So would you think that we messed up on something? And of course in the Czech Republic it is really dire with the support for Israel, which means that we totally disregard the rights, the human rights and the political rights and the right of determination, self-determination of the Palestinians since 1917. We ignore the genocide that is going on. So can the theatre help also to, you know, raise awareness of this and try to correct that? Thank you.
I mean, for me, I'm always asking myself, are we capable to have a global political or ethical sensitivity or not? I don't know how it is in Czechia, but the big problem we have in Austria and in Germany is that the political right wing appropriated, for example, the Holocaust, and they're using it to smash all kind of things that are smaller, and if you talk about it, you are comparing with the Holocaust, and that means that you are not accepting that it happened, which is completely absurd because they are the grandchildren of the perpetrators. So I mean, there's kind of, we are locked in this kind of very local discourses, and sometimes I have the impression we want to have a local game, and we use a big global problem, and we don't care about what it really means for the people living there. And I think that's exactly what is happening in a very, very confusing, morally confusing way concerning the conflict in Israel and Palestine, or in Gaza, of course. And I think that's really problematic, and over, even as a European project, and perhaps that links to what we said before, we can come to understand that we committed, you are talking about Global South, the crimes of colonialism, and we committed the Holocaust, and we committed a lot of stuff out of this too, a lot of economical crimes we are committing every day, you know? So I think as a European Union to take, and again, to develop this kind, because we have a beautiful memory politics of Germany, we have a beautiful memory politics of Austria, but we don't have any memory politics of Europe, besides the European dream, you know? But what is it? The European dream, you know? So we had these kind of nice moments of 45 and 89, but besides that, what is it? You know, some kisses on the streets with soldiers and other people, and that. But I mean, and this is the big problem, that this history and this point from where we could say we interfere in the war in Gaza, we don't have as a European Union. We completely disagree on everything. And that's, I think that it's a very practical problem.
Are there some other questions from the audience? I would maybe like to ask you, Jirka, because we exchanged a lot on this also while we were in school in the theatre academy. What does the European context mean actually in the artistic creation? Because my opinion or my feeling is that in the Czech Republic somehow, and I'm still in my dramaturgical works trying to understand this, why is the Czech theatre network so disconnected from the European Union? And we exchange also on this, like, we are watching international shows coming to Prague, and we were speaking in the context of the German festival, like some kind of import that we are, you know, going to see how they do abroad, and then we reproduce or we comment on it, but we don't do the other direction. What does the creation in the European context mean to you, or is it important to you?
It is important to me, although I'm probably not the best example of someone who is really interconnected on the European level. I was just thinking about what Milo replies to that question, that in a way theatre is for me very local thing, actually, very, very local. I'm talking to very close people around me, and I think you can bring any topic on the stage, like any Gaza, definitely, right? But the question is always, what does it change? What is it really making? You know, how, if we are talking about theatre as a tool for making a change, then this is a big question, and I would love to spend hours talking about this. But academic sphere, or like, I mean, universities, artistic universities, it's totally different level, and I can only share some experiences when, for example, Orbán actually won for the first time in Hungary. We were in very close contact with pedagogues from different theatre academies in Hungary, and we were facing the same question like now with Slovak colleagues. It's exactly the same. What kind of the help can we offer actually? Is it like signing the protests? Is it you know, publishing their statements in our field, in our environment? Personally, I think it's really, you can offer work to someone who has lost his job because of political reasons. You can make as many collaborations as is possible. You can call for this interconnectivity, and if you are in charge of some festival, you can do what you are doing, that you are inviting their show to Austria to be presented because they cannot show their show, cannot be shown at home. So there are some particular things that can be done, and we were doing this. We were for a certain time, not till now. Although I'm not connected to the academy yet, so I don't know now, so I don't know the current state. But we were trying to offer them, you know, leading workshops, master classes, and so on. But again, here is the question: what will really generate the change? And I think it can be only done through elections again, probably. And that's the question. What's wrong about the elections? What's wrong about the representative democracy and the concept of representative parliamentarism, actually? How is it possible that suddenly the governments are populistic, nationalistic, almost fascist, and it's the number is surprising?
Would you like to react on that?
Yeah, finally this afternoon I had a discussion with one, I think with you, about democracy. And what is the history of democracy? When you look into history, and it makes me a bit sad because it's exactly what you say. In history, democracy was always the product to civil war and then to dictatorship. I mean, when you look to the Greeks, to the Romans, to what happened before the Second World War, it was always a little phase before it became dysfunctional. It became more or less the tool to overthrow it.
And wasn't the dictatorship that came after democracy just a phase?
No, it was not a phase. I mean, when you look to history, you have for example, the Roman Republic. Some destinies that it is really a republic, then 100 years of civil wars, and then I think 500 years of dictatorship, and then, as you know, 1,000 years of dark ages and Christian craziness. So, and then we have again a moment of republic, and it finished immediately. So when we talk about democracy, historically as a kind of a statistic fact, it never existed. Democracy was always the exception of some years. And I think we have to be aware of it, because when we go to school, they teach us democracy was created in Europe 300 or 400 years before Christ. And since then, that was the way how we Europeans lived. but we lived like some moments like this. And perhaps in one generation, when we talk about elections, people will ask, what are you talking about? We don't, it's forgotten, it's past, it's gone, you know? And we have to be aware that if we don't get it less dysfunctional. I mean, now, after Trump came back as the son the second time, everybody knows it's a criminal, everybody knows he wants to destroy as much he can, he will never go out of the White House. We know that, but this system, this method of making a government, let him come back, so how can I, how can I still believe in this? How can anybody believe in this? How can you just make jokes about it? How, as Hitler was making jokes about the democracy, and how Trump is doing jokes. So it's difficult to believe that this system will continue if we don't really fight for it, and I think we should not fight for the institution. We should really, as a civic society, claim it as a space, occupy all institutions and give them life again.
I'll give the last chance to the audience before we close. Maybe if was there another question? Yes. Thank you.
So my question wasn't answered fully, so I would like to add on, and also to add to your question, what is wrong with the representative democracy or system? Well, precisely because the elites decide, the rich decide, they have the power, and the majority of people, they don't feel represented because they see that the decisions are made only in the top echelons. We don't have real power, so that's why we want to change it, and that's why populism comes, because, but my question is, why do you think that theatre cannot change it? There were always revolutionary plays like Bertolt Brecht and others. So what has gone wrong with, for example, the Czech theatre that has not given the public the consciousness, the conscience, that we are human beings? We should care for the human rights of everyone, regardless of the color. Why have we become so racist in the Czech Republic? Why have we become so ignorant of the global south that is suffering? That we are living on, on the produce, on the suffering of the global south. What has theatre? Why has theatre not, given awareness to these questions? How can we have in the Czech Republic come to the state that we approve genocide, that we don't care about the people, that we are so Islamophobic, xenophobic? So what can we do as theatre, as culture? Thank you.
My feeling is that every my project is based on this, actually, and still Andrej Babiš will be our next politician leader. So I don't know, but I can't remember any project that I wouldn't have in head what you were talking about. But the question is, who is coming to the theater, what kind of audience you have, how can you reach the audience that would never come to the theater? And that is bringing me back to the question about what's wrong with democracy. And what is it that people are so open to be hacked and vote for someone who is definitely not bringing benefit for our society? And I wouldn't probably agree with what you have said, that we are the key problem is that we are neglecting all the troubles around the world, all the other problems, and that we are neglecting genocide. I think, at least speaking for myself, I'm aware of that. And again, which way should the change come? And theatre is definitely a tool for that, but maybe not for revolutionary act, but for changing each particular spectator in the audience. But this is good question that I'm thinking about a lot before because I'm not yet, I will be artistic director. If the theater, if you put it on a political level and you would stand up for certain values, and it's very clear from even mainstream audience what you are, which ideology actually you stand for, then of course you are narrowing the way of the people who have other opinion to come to your theater. You know how to deal with this actually. This is interesting question for me, but I don't even think that European Union is not actually facing all the negative and very terrible periods of its history, you know, of colonization or whatever. I don't have the feeling that the communication about these problems is not here, that there is any kind of censorship. There is censorship done by money, by the lack of subsidies, and by all of this. I really feel that that we don't know actually what is the real reason for raising the populism and nationalism in these days. I feel that there is something that the people really feel, that the representative democracy hits its limit, that they are not speaking for us. I don't have any representative who would, be my voice there. And talking about ancient Greece democracy, there was actually a very interesting thing, and that was chance, like coincidence. There were people who were elected by chance, actually, by luck, which was maybe more interesting, social.
Statistically, a much better system.
Yes, maybe in a way. I don't know, but definitely, like this is not bringing people the feeling that they have there in government someone who is representative.
I mean, I have perhaps one idea why democracy is so fucked up and it's so toxic at this moment, because I think what we forgot is that the European project or the Western project and the welfare state and the democracy are very much linked to another system, which is the extractive capitalism. And this comes now to an end. And the problem is that when this system comes to the end, democracy is turning into a save your life who can system. And everybody thinks, how can I use this system to be the survivor in this fight? That my group will survive. So now, we see a transformed democracy, which is a system of social revenge, which is a system of let's survive my ethnic group, which is a system of give me 30 years more and then everything can be fucked, but until then we want to make money. So it became a system of kind of like in a supermarket, you give me this, so I will vote for you because that's what I want to buy and that's how I can somehow survive. That's what democracy became. I don't think that there is any global picture anymore that we say, and there you come to this idea of the Greek that when you just by accident point on you and you are now the new president, it's the much better choice than when you take any politician.
But this is happening. For example, in Ireland, there are these civilian assemblies of people who were actually selected to be the representative pattern for the whole society, and they are dealing about things. They are not voting, but they are talking about topics important for cities, for example, or just a village. And then they bring, for example, the idea for a national referendum.
This is maybe something that is also happening now in Free Republic Vienna. We unfortunately won't have the time to talk about it because we will have to close it, but it's interesting that it goes exactly to your artistic
this image you see, we created this kind of city council for Vienna, and on this picture you see a lot of councils dancing.
And sorry, just one last thing that I totally agree with this capitalistic part of the crisis of democracy. But then it's this other thing, and that's really like hacking people's mind, because at least since Brexit, we know through Cambridge Analytica that it's really easy to do marketing that is totally designed for these elections, for this topic, and you can really hack it. You can hack people's mind, and this is just more and more sophisticated. So actually, what are the elections about now? Sorry.
Thank you so much. I would like to give the final word maybe to Dóra a little bit, because we kept her a little bit outside of this, because, you know, you said like it's about surviving winter right now for you, but as I know you and I follow your work, I don't believe this can be just it. What is your focus now? What is your plan?
There is no plan. I mean, we are really running out of money. It's not the best ending of the discussion, but I mean, I cannot say anything else but the truth. That's also, this sentence is also part of the democracy, no?
So we'll end with this, and I think this is also a story of reminder what is happening and what can happen also, because sometimes in the Czech Republic we are like, this is not happening here, and I think this is a reminder that this can happen, and it can happen you know, in a short time, because as the election you were speaking about are approaching. So let's stay aware, let's stay solider, let's keep resisting with closing with your words. The opening of the festival will start shortly. We have the performance This Is Not an Embassy made in Taiwan starting at 8. You are all very welcome to join the show. Many of you are having tickets for the show. It's about Taiwan also defending its democracy and finding the way how to keep its democracy in a very difficult geopolitical context near China. So yeah, it will somehow continue this discussion, I think, also on the stage in a short period of time. Thank you very much to all the speakers. I would love to continue this discussion. I think the resistance now to continues. All sessions, I think, are recorded and will be recorded, so it will be a nice library, I think, at the end of this, like all the different topics that were approached. And somehow, for me, to have a positive ending, it empowers and it gives the corpse to the European idea, I think, because we are meeting this way and we can share this stuff. So thank you very much. Thank you, Milo. Thank you, Dóra. Thank you, Jiří. And thank you also all of you to have been here with us. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.